We'll give YouTube a moment, and then we should be able to get started. As usual, let me know where you're from. Pardon me as I adjust the camera here. All right. I think we're looking good. Let's see if YouTube is working. There we are. All right, I am Drew Badger, the founder of EnglishAnyone.com and the English Fluency Guide. Welcome to another live video here on YouTube. Today, we're going to talk about how to think quickly because I got a mail recently from a learner who was really complaining, really frustrated about their processing speed. I'll just call it processing speed. Let me erase the board and then we'll get started. And so this is the basic idea of how long it takes you from, let's say there's another person saying something and that information has to travel to you, and then this is you over here, and then how long it takes you to respond. So this is supposed to be your mouth. So like words or whatever, we'll do it like that. So how long it takes you to respond. So often English learners or really learners of any language, the goal is to reduce this time to zero and reduce this time to zero as well. Obviously, even when people are speaking natively, the regular native speakers not trying to learn an additional language, you still might take time to think about what someone says, or you might take time to think about your response. But the difference is that you're not trying to think about what grammar rules you should use. You're not using any translations or anything like that. So again, the goal is how do we reduce this time as much as possible and certainly make it more the way a native would experience it. So a native is experiencing this fluently. So you are understanding things, or you are listening, your hearing is fluent, and so your speaking becomes fluent as well. All right, so we're going to talk about how we can reduce both of these to zero. As usual, if you have any questions, let me know. I will keep my eye on the chat. I will look very briefly to just say hello to people. But as usual, if you'd like to ask questions, feel free. Just if there's anything related to what I'm talking about at the moment, then I can answer that. If not, I will save that until later. But anyway, this is the basic idea. That's what we'll be talking about today. And I want to get back to the beginning. This is kind of the third main challenge of fluency, or the third main challenge of speaking. So we're going to talk about the other two first, just to make sure everybody understands. I know we always have new people who are joining us and watching these videos, so I like to give them the bigger picture very quickly. All right, George, nice to see you there. Newman, hello, sir. Nice to see you there. Satish, Diana, nice to see you there. Paris, Natalia, Nicholas, morning. Paris again. Silvana, nice to see you from Brazil. And H. Ray, look at that, you guys all coming out. I know today is not my usual day for doing this. I wasn't able to come in yesterday, but I'm switching to today. It's always a nice surprise, you know. Olympia, nice to see you there. My amazing teacher, always good to have some love over there. Sin Trigger, hi teacher, thanks for your advices. Very quickly, we would just say thanks for your advice. So in general, advice is not countable, so we would just say thanks for your advice. But if someone maybe is asking for like one tip or something, you could say advice, or you could say it kind of singularly like a piece of advice, a piece of advice. So let me give you a piece of advice. You will often hear that, or let me give you some advice. But in general, you don't need to think about it as counting it. It's just information. Let's see. Now I have less aha moments and feel more confident. Now I have less aha moments and feel more confident. Well, hopefully you should be having fewer more aha moments. So the Sin Trigger is mentioning the idea of an aha moment is just, it's that feeling you get of understanding and realization when you understand something, when you're like, oh, look, I figured it out. I solved the puzzle, or I understood something. I'll give you an example of that in just a moment as we go over the kind of first two main challenges of fluency before we come back to this specific point. But yeah, I'm glad to hear you're speaking more confidently. Lewis says, from Spain, Marceliana from Brazil. All right, and David says, hello, teacher. I think that to think in English, you have to know the context of the sentence or the word. Yes, like we'll talk a little bit about that. Obviously, if you don't know anything about what's going on, like if someone just started speaking to me in Thai, I wouldn't understand and I wouldn't be able to respond to them. So obviously, that's why I want to talk about the first two challenges of fluency before I talk about this one. But obviously, yes, you should know, understand what you're talking about and be able to think at least about the individual pieces of the language. So let's talk about that. Elizabeth from Colombia, nice to see you there. I'm doing very well. All right. So this is, as I mentioned, the third main challenge. Really, this is probably the most challenging part about fluency, but it becomes easier if you solve the first two. All right, so let's look at those. So this is, if I can give you my own just quick story about how I thought about these things when I was struggling to learn languages, and then as I became fluent in Japanese. So the first thing is you really want to make sure how you learn. So like the learning process has to mirror real life. Okay, so that's like the most important part here. So actually, I'll just put learning up here. So learn and then real life. So how you learn is how you speak in general. Okay, so the way you learn, it should also mirror what's happening in the real world with real communication. So as an example, the first challenge of fluency is what to learn. All right, so the basic idea is the what. All right, and so when I was trying to get fluent in Japanese, most of the learning I did was book exercises, listening to CDs. Do you remember CDs? Just any kind of listening exercise, and then getting dialogues and other things that were not, they were part of the real language, but only a very small, incomplete portion of that. So if I'm not learning the real way people speak, then of course I'm going to struggle to understand people and express myself and sound natural. All right. So the first challenge, this is really the easiest one. It's just, what do we learn? What exactly do we learn to have good communication? And again, the answer to that is that it should mirror what we're learning or what we're using in real life. All right. So very simple. So for some people, maybe they have been learning the traditional way, like they're still learning through translations. They're still trying to study things, and they're feeling, okay, the real language that I hear in real life it's very different from what I hear in school. So as an example, this video you're watching right now, I'm giving you part of the way natives really speak. So I am a native speaker of the language. I speak the language fluently, talking about English here. And it's still like a portion or an incomplete part of the language. So I'm not using slang or idioms or other things or movie quotes that maybe you don't know because I want to be understandable. I'm also speaking more slowly, more clearly. So really this is part of the picture, and teachers, they're trying to help you understand the language without making it too complicated or too tricky or difficult to understand. So that's why you will have people teaching a different what or only part of what you have in the real world. So you really need to get the complete picture. So if you want to speak the real language, you must learn the real language. Okay, so that's the first challenge of fluency, and understanding that. Once you know, okay, I have to learn this, the next question is, how do we learn it? All right, so the next problem is the how of what we do with learning. So all of these are really like part of the learning process, but if you try to understand them individually, it's a lot easier to do that. So with the how of the learning process, often people are, as I mentioned, you're using translations or trying to study grammar rules or other things like that make the language more difficult, and they don't erase the doubt that you have about speaking. And that's really the core idea about being able to express yourself is, if you have doubt about something, if you're worried about your pronunciation or how a word might be used or a grammar point, something like that, if you have doubt about that, you probably won't be able to say it. And if you do say it, you will probably feel a little bit nervous about saying it. You will maybe not be very confident in the way you express yourself, or you won't speak at all. All right. So this problem of how, like a lot of people, they don't learn the real language, and then they try to learn that by memorizing grammar rules or vocabulary or whatever, but then they still struggle to speak. So often they build a larger passive vocabulary so they can understand things when people are speaking to them, but they have trouble remembering those things in conversations. And we'll talk about the third problem after that, which is how we connect all these things and use them together. All right. So again, just to recap here, so you have the what and then the how. Let me give you a quick example. Sin Triggers, I think, mentioned aha moment. So let me give you an example of that for the how of how people are learning. Remember, the idea of learning is to eliminate doubt. So you need to get more examples, usually, and different kinds of examples that help you really get complete understanding of something. Okay. So as an example, I was playing checkers. So the game checkers, I'll write this down here. So I'm at home during summer vacation with my kids and we're playing games and doing things around the house and I'm teaching my kids the game checkers. My older daughter enjoys playing these different games and so now I'm teaching her different board games you can play like solitaire or other things where you get to move little pieces around. So things like checkers. Anyway, so I'm teaching her checkers, and if you know the rules of the game, you have, it looks like basically a chessboard like this, and you try to move your little pieces around, and you can try to jump over somebody else. So if somebody has a piece here, and you have your piece here, if you can jump over that, then you can basically capture or take that piece. Now, once you get to, you want to move your pieces up to the other end of the board, and if you get your piece at the other end of the board, we call that a king. And at that point, you double up the pieces, to double up the pieces. All right, so instead of one, double. So I'm going to double up, and this is a good phrasal verb here, to double up. We're going to have another layer of something, like I could double up on my clothing. I could wear an additional layer of clothing, all right? So when we were playing this and I was explaining this to my daughters, my older daughter, Aria, she just turned 9 years old, and I have a younger daughter named Noelle, and she is now 5 years old. And when I said you have to double up on that, and I put one token on top of the other one. So you have this, the first token that you have, and you get to put another token. So it looks like this. You've got one here, and then another one on top of it like that. So you get to put that other one on there, and we doubled it up. And then I could see her, she just said double, like the word just came out of her mouth, and she said double. And I kind of looked at her, and I said, yeah, you know, to double up, we have two of them. And the reason she was thinking that, she looked up, this was just a very interesting, it was a perfect example of an aha moment. So she heard the word double and then double up, and then she looked up, we have a bookshelf with some other board games on it. And one of those board games is a game called Candyland. And this is a game for really young children that's just teaching them how to play games and take cards and do things like that. So a very simple game for young children. And there are cards in there. The way Candyland works, if you've never played the game, there are no real instructions for little kids. It's very simple. The game board, you're basically trying to travel from one part of the board to the next. And then as you go through these different pieces, you're landing on these different little tiles, and each one of those tiles is a different color. So instead of having a die, like usual, you would play with a die like this, you know, as like 1, 2, 3, and 1, and 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. So you roll a die, and then you get maybe 5, and then you move your piece 5 spaces. But in Candyland, you do it by taking cards. And so each cards will look like this. So it's just a white card with a colored square on it that tells you what square you should go to next. So if I am here and I get the red card, and this is the red space, I move my guy to the red space. Now, in Candyland, you've got single, and you also have double. So we've got a card that will have 2 red squares on it, or 2 blue squares, something like that. And so if you have, like, let's say this one is red, and then we have another, so I'm not coloring these in, but let's say this is yellow and blue and red and yellow and green, and maybe we got another red over here. So if I am here and I get the double red, then I can go 1, 2, and move my little character or my token onto that space. All right. So Noelle remembered that idea, and as soon as I said double up, there was like a click in her mind, all right? Something clicked, what I call the fluency trigger, where you understand something, you're like there's like a switch in your mind where you think, oh, okay, I get it now, I understand what that means. So when I said double up, she immediately remembered that idea of doubling, like putting two things together. And that idea of double now is a stronger, more confidently held or more confidently understood idea in her mind. All right. I could, of course, continue to explain more things about it, but that gave her the aha moment where she's thinking, oh, okay, I actually understand what this means. All right. And so, of course, I gave her some more examples just to make this a little bit stronger. So you could have, two chips, like double like this, or you could go to the like a restaurant, get like a double cheeseburger, where you have two burgers like that, or go to the ice cream shop. And of course, you get a double scoop of ice cream. Okay. So sometimes you can order, like if we go to the ice cream shop, we can get a double or a single. All right, so we can say one scoop or two scoops, but another way to say this is a double. All right, give me a double, one flavor of this and one flavor of something else. All right, so hopefully this makes sense. This is the how about how the learning works. The point is to eliminate the doubt you have when you understand something and you think, oh, like now I understand what that means. You feel confident about how to use it. Okay. And so in her example, now she feels more confident about the word double. And I want to make it clear how this happened. I didn't just repeat the word like double, 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 double. If you repeat something like that, just like looking at a flashcard again and again, it's not giving you any new information to help you understand something better. So the whole point, whatever you're trying to learn, it doesn't matter if you're trying to understand grammar or vocabulary or pronunciation, anything like that. We'll talk a little bit more about that in part 3 here. But the basic idea is that you're not going to get better understanding from repetition, but you will get better understanding from hearing things usually in different contexts or seeing things just like in a different situation. It could be the same way you're using a word, but just like my daughter heard it here. So we're playing one game, and here we have a stack of two things. So it's a slightly different context of the word. So we have a stack of chips. You could have like a single, double, and maybe we have 3, which would be a triple or quadruple or quintuple. You could actually keep going higher and higher than that. But here they are next to each other. All right. So for her mind, it's like a slightly different context, but now she could make the connection. And I hope you're starting to see now that the goal here is really making connections between the different things that you know, and that's what enables you to speak fluently, okay? So to think fluently so that we speak fluently, you actually have to be producing connections in your mind rather than just making, okay, I'm going to review some flashcards, I'm going to make some flashcards and look at those same things again and again. I should be seeing these things in different contexts or seeing them in different ways or getting a variety of examples. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. So this is, again, just talking about the first 2 challenges of learning. And if you get these right, you're really doing very well as a learner. And the last problem is how do we actually connect these things together? All right, so we're making connections to help us understand individual words or phrases, but then how do we take all these different things and connect them together as well? And that is the third problem of fluency. That's what we're talking about today, which is, again, how to think fluently. All right. So let me erase this. I'll go back and see if anybody had any questions before I continue, but let me know if this is making sense. Hopefully, again, when you're thinking about like any frustration you have with language learning, it should be, how do I make the learning like the real thing? So how do I make learning like communication? So the more they mirror each other, if I'm learning in the same way that communication works, as an example, like if I learn real vocabulary that people actually use, I will be much better able to communicate. All right, so that hopefully that makes sense. So let me erase this. But it's always a great feeling for me when I see somebody get that aha moment, because they're like, oh, wow, like I figured it out. Okay, so not everybody figures things out in the same way, and that's why I try to teach things in different ways and make sure different people can understand things easily. But the point is, it's better to get different examples of things rather than to try to just get review about something where we're only repeating something where people they're like struggling. Why do I keep practicing more but I'm not feeling more confident and fluent? It's because either you're not eliminating the doubt or you're not learning how to make connections between these different things. All right, so let's talk about connections after I check chat. All right, look at that. We're going 20 minutes. I'm cruising along here. All right, let's see. Did I skip anybody? So David, let's see. Okay, I got that one. Charles said, regards from Georgia. Elizabeth says, from Columbia. How are you, teacher? I'm doing well. Devika says, hello. You are doing very well. Well, I try. DeTrecklin, sir, you changed your streaming today. Yes, I'm doing this on a day, not usually that on a day I don't usually record, yes. So usually it's Mondays, but I wasn't able to do that yesterday. And so surprise, you get a video on Tuesday instead. But remember, it doesn't matter if you watch the videos live, you can still get the same benefit from the lesson. All right, so watch them later if you like. And there goes some Hanguru, which I can't read. And Faustin says, you are one of the best teachers I have been following on YouTube. Your explanations are always clear. Glad to hear it. Yes, so when people typically don't say exactly like why or what makes them clear, but the point is what I try to do is eliminate doubt for people. So if you have no doubt about something, then you speak without a doubt, all right? So that's the whole point of being able to communicate fluently. When you feel good about what you're saying, then you will communicate without thinking about things. All right, Est says, such a useful and timely topic. Glad to hear it. Vilfredo says, which is better, learning or acquiring a language? I don't know. I try not to confuse people with, like, I don't know, like definitions like this. It's like, well, like, are we learning the language or are we acquiring it? It's like, I mean, does it really matter? Like, if I talk to native speakers and I say, well, did you learn English or did you acquire it? And they'll be like, what are you talking about? I don't know, I just kind of learned the language, I guess. And so for, like, in an academic setting, maybe it's important to have a distinction about like learning versus acquiring. But for me, the only thing that's important is eliminating doubt. So it doesn't matter, like, did you learn something or did you acquire it? It doesn't matter. Did you eliminate doubt with that thing? And so that's kind of the core idea that people don't really get to. So people talk about comprehensible input, which is a way of eliminating doubt, but like understanding the point of comprehensible input is to eliminate doubt. So that's how you know how much comprehensible input to get is, do we get enough to eliminate the doubt? And so in my daughter Noelle's example of learning about doubling something up, then she thinks, oh, okay, that eliminated the doubt for her about what double means. So before she was able to make that connection, and she probably already knew what that meant. I never like quizzed her about that. And when we were playing Candyland, she could make the connection. Okay, there's one square, so move one square. And there are two squares, so move two squares. And I would use the words single and double in that game. But it was just interesting when she, like, my other daughter and I, Aria, so we were looking at Noelle, and Noelle's like, double. And then she looks up at the board games and she's pointing to Candyland. And I said, yeah, just like the double spaces in that. Very good. So even though she already knew what it meant, like that gave her, she was excited about that feeling, that aha moment of understanding. And so that's what you're going for as you learn. So don't worry about like learning versus acquiring or whatever. I couldn't really give a good explanation about that. I mean, I could probably, but I don't think it will help. I don't know. It's not a distinction that people really need to know. It's not stopping you from speaking. Anonymous, I guess. I haven't. Let's see. I didn't finish that. So why double down ended up to mean increase effort, though. So doubling down. This is again another idea of thinking about doing something twice as hard. So let's say I'm doing some. I don't know, I have some kind of activity and I have 15 minutes where I need to, I don't know, like I'm making markers, for example. So I can make 2 markers in 15 minutes. And I'm not really working very hard doing that. I have to, put this plastic part and this plastic part, and it takes me 15 minutes to do 2 markers. but maybe I'm feeling extra excited or motivated today. I'm going to double down on my work and see if I can make twice as many markers. So I work a little bit faster. I try to be more efficient, and now I can make 4 markers in that same period of time. Okay, so when you're doubling down on something, that's one usage of using twice the effort, or trying to get twice the energy or twice the output. Okay, and so the same thing is also if you're playing the card game blackjack. So if I go to a blackjack table and the dealer has, I don't know, like a 2 and I don't know, like a 3 or something over here, and then I have a I don't know, a 10 and an ace, or whatever. I actually can't see what they have, but I have like a good, I don't know, something like that, where I could have let's say I don't know, I could have an ace, just for example. So I've already got 21 anyway, but I could say, okay, I double down where I put more money. So if I bet like $5 initially, I double down and put twice the amount of money, and if I win, then I get twice the amount of money back. Okay, so that's another example of doubling down. Another example of doubling down is if you are in an argument with someone and like maybe they are wrong, but they just won't give up. They will double down and they will continue to argue with you and to say, no, like this is the thing or whatever. I don't want to give you too many complicated examples of it, but again, it's increasing, or we're going to do something twice as hard or twice as much to double down. So I could double down, and again, I could double up on something in the same way. It's basically the same idea. So you'll often see this with phrasal verbs, where we could have a different preposition, so like up or down or whatever. But to double up on something is kind of thinking about increasing it, but doubling down, it's like I'm putting more money down on the table. All right, so you can think about it logically and often create a story like that to help you understand it better. But it just means you're doing more of something. All right. But notice, as I give you these different examples from different contexts, you should be getting these aha moments of understanding that eliminate doubt about using that thing. So you should feel more confident about using it. And so the kind of bigger aha moment about this is, oh, I don't actually become more fluent by speaking more. I become more fluent by understanding the language better, by eliminating doubt. All right. So once you feel better about something that you understand it well, you will feel much more likely or feel much more confident about saying that thing. All right. So let's see. And then C says how to get aha moments for grammar or for verbs. Typically verbs are quite easy to get that for, but it's just seeing examples of doing something. Like if I'm showing you something, like I'm walking like this, or I could be like skipping like this, or I could be hopping like that. So if you're talking about just understanding verbs, seeing them in action is a lot better than trying to get a definition from your language or a translation, something like that. Okay. You should open a blackjack. I mean, I understand the rules of blackjack, and as like a game to play against a casino, your chances are better of winning with blackjack than like, I don't know, playing roulette or something like that. I don't really like, playing slot machines or something. I'm not a big fan of that. All right, Ricardo says, very clear, your explanation. Yes, you would say your explanation. So easy method to learn English. All right, glad to hear it. Any language? Yes, so the things that I'm teaching here, they apply to learning every language, and they also apply to how you learn your native language. Natalia says, greetings, my teacher from Arlington. Nice to see you there. I like it when in 2 consecutive sentences you apply 2 different grammatical rules to say the same thing. Thanks. Yes, I do that intentionally. So I often, it will seem like I'm repeating myself because I say the same idea, but I try to express it in different ways. And this is to give you examples, what we'll talk about for part 3 here, about helping you understand different ways that people would express something. So the third part, which we'll get to in just a moment as soon as I finish these questions here, is really helping people make connections. So the whole idea of communication is understanding connections, and so the practice you do should be teaching you how to make connections also. So that's why I give you these, and often like the video I'm making, it might have a specific topic or I'm teaching some vocabulary, but if you pay attention to the way I speak, which you are doing, then you will notice little things about that the way I'm trying to help people understand these things without actually needing to explain them. So very good, very, very good listening to that. Sin says, that's the same place that the band Pantera comes from. Cool to know. Mike says, hi people, how you doing? Glad to be back again. I missed out a lot of lessons. I try to catch up with those later. Greetings from Colombia. So decrease by 2. Well, you would want to increase something when we double up. Julian says, hello, teacher. I'm here again. Nice to see you there. Let's see. Fabio says, hello, and see you should, the blackjack question again. Sita, the manager, is back. Nice to see you. It's nice to have the chance to watch your live lessons. Well, it's a pleasure. Welcome back. Daria says, good evening. And Sita says, let's give Drew some likes, people. Now, remember, you want to be careful. If you're the manager, you got to tell him correctly. You have to give some Drew likes, comma, people. Otherwise, you're going to give me likes people, and I don't know what those are. But if you give people likes, comma, people, so everyone you're talking to everybody else out there, yes, click that like button if you know other people who also struggle to speak. Especially this is a good video to share because I'm trying to go through the 3 main challenges of fluency, and hopefully this should be eye-opening. It should help people understand this problem much better. All right, so let's talk about thinking fluently, because a lot of people get stuck at this point. Just like this red marker gets stuck over here. Oh my goodness. This is like an exercise program over here. I should use blue instead. Let me see if my blue is working. All right, it does. Beautiful. Black is not working so well, but okay. All right, so let's talk about number 3, and this is actually how we make the connections, and this is the practice. All right, so what people usually think of as practicing a language is either, number 1, you're trying to practice by yourself, and this is by repeating things you already know. So maybe you're, again, studying flashcards, or you're reviewing a book or a story or whatever that is. Excuse me. And then the other form of that is trying to speak with other people. Now, there are lots of problems with both of these things. So at first, trying to practice by yourself, it can be very boring. And as I mentioned, usually when you're repeating something, you're not helping your brain understand anything more. Your brain likes those aha moments. Your brain wants to get more of those. It's kind of like a drug almost when you get these aha moments of understanding. So that feeling, it encourages us to learn because it feels good when we get that. When we understand something, like we solve a puzzle or playing a game or whatever, we feel good when we achieve that or understand that thing. And so when you're just repeating things to yourself, you're not going to understand things very well because you're not getting any new information. And all of the examples I've given you so far, they're showing you how to get new information or slightly varied information, what I call naturally varied review, but we want to apply this to the practice as well, all right? Now, the same thing, the difficulties that people usually have with practicing with other people. Number 1, it's hard to find people to practice speaking with. Number 2, you might think, well, I don't know if these are good people to speak with, or maybe I have to teach them my language at the same time, or maybe I don't have time or whatever. There are lots of problems and frustrations about trying to do this. But the good good news is that the practice really doesn't come from speaking to other people, although when you're in practicing, kind of in conversations with other people, you are able to understand more by listening to what they say. So typically, when people are in a conversation, they will say things that they feel comfortable saying. So if you know how to use a grammar point, you feel confident about it, you have no doubt about that, you will say that grammar point instead of something else. All right. But if there's some other thing, even if you're trying to learn it, you will feel a little bit less confident about using that in the conversation. And so the preparation before having a conversation becomes more important. So instead of trying to go directly to a conversation where maybe it's difficult to find people or you don't feel confident about what you say, really the practice comes from just getting all these different examples and a wide variety of them. All right, so here's a quick example of this. So looking at something like just repeating a particular word or something like this, I want to get lots of examples of how different people might say this thing, because that's going to prepare me for the variety of things in real conversations. I'll give you one more example of this before I explain it though. So my older daughter Aria, another story about my kids, so she is practicing the piano. All right, and practicing the piano is something that you do by yourself, and you simply repeat it because the idea here is muscle memory. So I'm trying to think, okay, how do I practice? I need to put my finger here, and as I practice again and again, I'm just repeating that song over and over and over. And maybe it could be kind of boring for people, but this is how you improve with an instrument, all right? But I want to make it clear that learning to practice something like an instrument is different than trying to practice something like actual communication. So trying to practice a language, because the practice for a piano is the same as the actual playing of a piano in like a concert or something like that. So you practice something, you repeat it again and again, so you play it very well in the concert. But in real communication, it's different than trying to learn something by yourself. So if I have like a word or something and I review it many, many times, maybe I feel good about that word, but then in a conversation, somebody says something different. Now what are you going to do? All right. So the real world. So again, like we want real life to mirror what's happening with the way we learn. So we should be learning the right thing. How we learn it is important, and then how we practice is also important. So instead of thinking about how do I find someone to practice with, it's more how do I expose my mind to all these varied examples that help me understand and prepare for real communication. All right. So it's much better, instead of trying to practice like one thing 10 times, it's better to get 10 varied examples like I've given you in these other examples already. All right. So just like Noelle learned some different examples of the use of the word double. So she learned like you could have a double, like a stack of something, like 2 tokens or 2 beef patties on a hamburger or something like that. Or I could have like 2 layers of clothing or 2 layers on a birthday cake, something like that. But then again, I also want to hear like how other people are talking about that. So the more examples you can get, the faster you will feel confident that you really understand something. So here's an example from me personally learning Japanese, trying to get this same practice. So I have a few different books about the 3 little pigs. All right, so these are children's stories, very good for learning language and developing fluency, as I talk about often. But the way you review these things is really important. So I could just read like one story. I could read one book about the 3 little pigs, but I'm reading this in Japanese. Or I could read, 3 or 4 different books, plus listen to maybe 3 or 4 different videos on YouTube about this, like other people talking about it or actually just telling the story in slightly different ways. And it's all of these things together that produces the network. And that network is what allows me to understand that same kind of thing in real communication. So if I'm learning like maybe one person, like the English version of this says, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. So like little pig, let me in. So the wolf is trying to get inside the house, and the pig says like, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin, which is just another way of saying, no way, like I'm not going to let you into my house at all. But obviously natives don't really use that, like they don't say no way, like not by the hair of my chinny chin chin in a regular conversation. But natives understand this vocabulary, and if you use that as a joke, if you're in a conversation and someone says like, would you like to do something like, I don't know, swim in a toilet. And you're like, well, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. And like as a joke, you're responding like, no way, I would definitely not do that. But the point is, it's giving you a different way of saying something which prepares you for the real communication and the variety of things that people say. All right? So getting back to our core problem, the third main challenge of fluency, how do we reduce the time it takes to process information and then to say information? So remember, we want to make this as short as possible. It is okay to take time and think about your responses. You don't have to respond immediately, but we don't want to be wasting time or getting stuck thinking about grammar rules or translations. But you can see how all of these things build on each other. So even if you practice the right way, if you don't learn the right information, then you're still going to be stuck. Or maybe we try to practice and we try to learn this, but if we don't learn it the right way, then we're going to be stuck still because we don't understand these pieces very well. But if you know what to learn, so you're learning the real communication or the real vocabulary that people use, and you're hearing examples of how natives really use that. So you're getting a variety of different people saying something, or you're hearing different voices even saying the same thing. And then we also hear how people are doing that, so we understand we're trying to make connections to eliminate doubt. All right, so that's the whole point of learning. The point is not like, instead of thinking about like getting fluent, it's just, how do I understand this thing completely? And so most lessons, they give you partial, they give you a little bit of understanding, but then they leave you with some kind of doubt, okay? And so once you get that, you know what to learn, you get it, and then the practice becomes a lot easier because you're already really getting lots of examples of these different things, okay? So if I'm learning, just like I gave the example for Noelle about double, that is giving her the kind of practice she needs to use that thing fluently. So she will know, okay, I can also use double when I'm talking about clothing. You should double up on sweaters, okay? Because it's really cold outside, so you should wear two. Or you should, let me get a double scoop at the ice cream shop. So she understands the different contexts when she could apply that thing, and then she knows, okay, maybe I could use it elsewhere, and she might try to do that too. But the point is, she's feeling more confident, she's understanding it better, so she will use it fluently. And by fluently, I mean that processing time has gone down because she's learning how to make these connections. So remember, even natives, when they're communicating, they might have a couple different things they could say in a conversation. So someone says something, and then there are a couple different responses you could get, even if these responses have the same meaning. As an example, maybe someone says to me, how are you doing today? So they're saying, how are you? And I could say, I'm fine, or I'm okay, or could be better, or not doing so well, or whatever. So these are different responses I could give depending on how I feel. And even for these different ways, I could like be feeling sad or feeling frustrated or whatever. And even within those, I could have different responses also. So let's say I'm feeling sad. I could think, yeah, I'm not doing so well. Or, yeah, I've been better. I've been better. All right. So thinking like that, like there are different ways I could respond to that. But the reason they're able to think of those is because they've gotten these varied examples from different people. All right. So they've already seen that. The learning that they get is really getting exposed to all of these different examples, just the way real life communication works. All right. So we want real life and learning to mirror each other. If you learn the right thing, you learn it the right way, and you practice it the right way. And when I say the right way, it just means you're mirroring what happens in the real world. And if you do that, then you speak fluently. So you don't have to take time thinking about things or processing information when you listen, so you can understand people much more easily. And then you don't have to take a lot of time thinking before you speak, because you just understand things. So just like the aha moment, it happens instantly once you recognize something and understand it. But if you can get many more aha moments and make more connections, that's what's going to help you speak much faster. All right? Hopefully that makes sense. So these are the three main challenges of fluency. These are the things that I understood when I was trying to get fluent and struggling to learn different languages like French and Spanish and even Japanese before I really thought about it. And I said, what is really stopping me from speaking? And what's really stopping me is doubt. And so these are the three main reasons people have doubt in communication. Either they're not learning what they should be learning, like the real vocabulary that natives use. So you could study very hard and know a lot of textbook vocabulary or the kind of classroom language that teachers would use, but it doesn't mean you're going to be prepared for real life. Okay, so even if you spend a lot of time learning, like if this information doesn't mirror, if it's not the same, so mirror, M-I-R-R-O-R, to mirror, we want to mirror just like looking at a mirror, all right? So this is another use of the word mirror, to reflect. So just like a mirror reflects what I'm looking at, so my reflection in the mirror. So what you're learning should mirror what's happening over here in real communication. The vocabulary you learn should be the vocabulary people use. All right, that makes sense. And then how you learn it, we want to make connections, help our brain understand something, not through translations, not through trying to get a definition or just repeating something again and again, but by hearing it in different ways to give us complete understanding. All right, and then practice is really just about extending this idea. We want to continue doing this where we really make sure, okay, we're getting lots of examples. We understand how different people might learn things or say things in different ways. And as we get more examples of that, then even if we don't have someone to practice with, our fluency is still improving. All right, because it's the understanding that helps you speak. All right, all of this is about eliminating the doubt that stops you from speaking. And when you have no doubt, you speak fluently. All right, that's where the confidence comes from. All right, let me go back and check chat. Let's see, 45 minutes going through all that. Hopefully people are getting it though. Let's see here. If anybody has any questions about this or anything else, let me know. All right, let's go. It says English with village guy. I am from India. Mike with the kind of crying sad eyes over there. Fabio says, Drew, how are stuff in Japan? So that's a good question, but we would say, how are things in Japan? How are things in Japan? That's the way to express this. So how is life? How are things in Japan? Very good. Things are going well. Doing fine. Sita again, yes, you're right. A little mistake there. Ha ha ha. It's okay. YouTube could allow us to edit our live comments. Yes, it's okay. Well, don't worry about it. I'm not blaming you, like making you feel bad. This is just giving other people examples of that. I see lots of different ways I could help people learn. And so typically if you're using something, even if it's just a typo, it's good for other people because other people will read the comments also. Let's see. I can't read Sadon, if I'm pronouncing that maybe incorrectly. I'm a rockin' here and new a member, so you would say member, M-E-M-B-E-R, member on your channel. Also, if you have problems or uncertainty or doubt about pronunciation, then you should click on the link in the description below this video to get Frederick. That will teach you pronunciation the same way natives learn it. Let's see. Fabio says, I want to buy some children books, gold books, but it's expensive. Most of the books that you can find examples of those for free right on YouTube with people reading those books. All right. So if you're talking about like little golden books or whatever, books are, I mean, they're actually pretty cheap. I don't know where you live, but you can often find many children's stories and whatever you're interested in. You can even do a Google search just for popular children's stories and then look those same stories up on YouTube. So it's easy. It's really easy to find the information. And often when I'm explaining this to people like these, talking about these ideas, it's never been easier. So right now, this time in history, it's the easiest time to get fluent. The problem is there's so much information, it's hard to know, it's hard to get good information about how to learn, and it's hard to organize all the information you need to learn. All right. So when I'm learning, I don't have a teacher. I understand how to learn, what I should be doing, so it's a lot easier, but I still don't have a Japanese teacher, like a specific teacher who's doing all this for me. I need to create that for myself as I'm learning. And so you could do this yourself, or this is what we do in Fluent for Life. We have this all organized for you. So the faster you can understand the language, the faster you can speak, all right? But if you have to spend a lot of time looking for lessons or trying to figure out how to learn, you will waste a lot of time, all right? So people who want to get faster or get fluent faster to communicate better more quickly, that's what we do in Fluent for Life. Let's see. Did it like skip me back down? Yeah, I think it did. And then let's see, Mike says, shadowing, it's like follow patterns and slowly being memorized. Yeah, I mean, you're basically repeating other people. The interesting thing about shadowing, I don't spend a lot of time talking about shadowing, but shadowing should be also eliminating doubt. And so it's a good idea to find, just like me, I'm talking about getting these different examples of the story of the three little pigs. If I watch different videos of people doing that, and I will find even many more videos of this in English. So it's even easier for me to learn this. I would have to get maybe some Japanese stories like Momotaro or something like that. But I can probably find examples of those. And as I'm reading those or listening to them or even seeing them, it's a video about it or just a storybook, then I'm going to understand things better. So whether you're trying to shadow or not, the more important thing is, can you get a lot of varied examples that help you understand the language better? All right, guys, it is better to practice, especially on the group WhatsApp with sharing, talking about a lot of topics. Yeah, again, like you could do that, but it's much more efficient to get lots of examples that help you understand the language better. So this is why I don't spend a lot of my time speaking Japanese, but when I do speak, I can speak freely and I don't have any trouble doing so. So I don't have this this fluency gap problem about processing what people say. Maybe sometimes I don't understand things, but in general I could follow a conversation and then I can respond, and I have different ways of responding because I've understood how to make different connections between different words. So like as an example, I went to my wife's uncle's 60th birthday party maybe 2 weeks ago, I think, or a week ago. And I don't spend most of my time speaking Japanese during the day. But when I went there, I'm just like talking with different people, walking to different tables and talking with all these different people about different things, and I have no problem discussing it. And then they have me like get up in front of everybody to talk a little bit. And so I have to be able to speak and understand what other people are saying. And I don't have that problem anymore about getting stuck like I used to. All right, but it's because I'm following this. So I'm looking at everything that's causing me doubt and trying to eliminate all that. That's how I'm getting fluent. All right, let's see. So the last point I would make about that is you could spend your time trying to meet other people in speaking groups, but from my experience, that's not how people get fluent very quickly. So you will waste a lot of time, I think, if you try doing that. But it is in conversations, again, I made this point already, but a lot of the improvement comes from you listening to other people while you're talking. So you say something you feel comfortable about, but someone else says something else. So like as an example, talking about like a down payment on a house. So in English, we say down payment, like here's a large amount of money you spend when you're buying a house or something like that, or a car or whatever. That's the down payment. How much money do you put down? And then maybe you have some like monthly payments after that, something like that. So you put money down, but in Japanese, it's like atamakin. And it's like, oh, like head money, like what is like the head, how much of that are you putting down? And so I hear that, it's like, oh, okay, I already know atama, like your head, and kin or kannais or whatever, that's money. And so like I can make that connection in my mind from other people saying it and like, oh, look at that. I had a little aha moment of understanding, oh, that's how they express it in Japanese. So in English, it's putting money down, the down payment, but in Japanese, they think about it as like the first part, like the atama kind of thing. And so it works like that, like talking about the head of the month or the start of the month. And so they express it in the same way. And again, as I'm making these connections in my mind, those connections are reflecting the real way that people speak. So if you are in conversations with people, that's great. I'm just reminding you that most of the improvement will come from understanding what other people say to you. So you don't need to spend a lot of time speaking. You do need to spend a lot of time listening to other people speak. All right. So again, if you are struggling and you are thinking, wow, I really need to find somebody to practice with, I'm telling you, you don't. You don't have to worry about that. What you do need is to see lots of other examples of a variety of people speaking. All right. So as you're getting naturally varied review, just like the way people get different examples in real communication. So native speakers, when they're learning the language, they don't just hear one example from one slow teacher. They're hearing lots of examples from many different people. Some people are mumbling something. Like even I talk with my kids now, I notice that I speak faster with them than I did when they were younger. So when they're like, I don't know, a year old or something, or 2 years old, I'm speaking more slowly, making sure they really understand something. But now I can say it much faster. And I can say like, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. And they understand like, come here is what I'm saying. But if I'm talking to an English learner who's learning the language from the beginning, I would say, come here, all right? But in a regular conversation with my kids, because now they understand the language, they understand the context, I could say, come here, get over here, get over here, get over here, come here, come here, come here. All right, so as you're getting all of these different examples, that's what's really helping you get prepared for real communication. Let's see here. And Owen says, hi guys, I would like to make friends all around the world. Well, welcome, says Owen. That says, how do I understand it completely? The best advice ever. People often don't offer that kind of information, either intentionally or otherwise. Yes, and so I think it's important to make this point because as I've talked about many times, learners will say, I understand something, but I can't use it. And so I will say, well, how well do you understand that thing? Okay? And I often draw this little triangle diagram here, try to keep it very simple. So this is like the amount of time you have or spending trying to learn something, and this is how well you understand it. So we'll just put a U for understanding, a T for time over here, and 100% when you understand something completely. All right? So you might understand something like a little bit. Maybe I understand it well enough. So well enough or good enough, well enough to recognize it in a movie or TV show. But there is still some kind of doubt here that's stopping me from really going all the way and getting complete understanding of something. And because I don't have complete understanding of something, I can't use it. All right. So again, like if I'm in a conversation or I'm watching a movie, I can have a lower level of understanding. But hopefully it's clear that there are different levels of understanding here. You could have a low level of understanding, a middle level, and a complete level of understanding where, wow, okay, I understand something, how it works, and I feel confident saying it. So I don't have doubt about pronunciation, doubt about the grammar or whatever, the usage, anything like that. I understand it completely. So when you're learning something, you should be able to understand it completely. A lesson should give you complete understanding. All right, because it's really the teacher's job to make you feel confident. So when you feel 100% confident because you understand something well, then you speak. All right, so you could, if you don't, maybe you still have some doubt about something. Often people will get into a conversation and they think, oh, they get stuck. So they can't think about something and express it very well because they don't really understand it, or they still have some kind of doubt about that thing. But once you understand it completely, like as an example, maybe you hear something from a teacher or you hear a word one time from one person, that's not really going to give you complete confidence about that word, because maybe that person is using some kind of slang word that only a small group of people use, or maybe their pronunciation is bad, or you didn't hear the word correctly. But as you hear lots of other people using that same word, then you get more confirmation. So they confirm that really this is something that people use, and that's like a popular word or a common word. And that will make you feel very confident that you should be saying that word also. So that gives you, again, complete confidence about that. So most lessons are not giving you complete confidence. They're expecting you, like the typical way people learn a language is the teacher will tell you something, they will give you a translation or, whatever, that maybe a definition of a word, but they leave you with doubt. And that's why that you're like, wait a minute, I understand this thing. I have a passive level of understanding. So if I hear something in a movie or a TV show, I would recognize it, but I still don't feel confident using it. So this is the problem that people have. And again, it's that same thing related to practice. They're not getting enough examples where they really feel that they know something completely. All right. So if lessons are incomplete, then your understanding will be incomplete also. And that's why I spend a lot of time going into detail about things and giving you a variety of examples to make sure they're understood. So if I'm looking at the chat and people are like, I don't get it, or like, nah, this doesn't make sense, then I know I'm not being complete. I need to go and give you different examples, but a different kind of example rather than just repeating myself. Okay, I would be like a stupid teacher if I just said the same thing over and over, but didn't express it in a different way. All right. So that's a long example of that, but yes, like you have the idea of completeness. That's what you're looking for. That's the whole point of like eliminating doubt. All right. So when I say a complete lesson, does it leave you feeling doubt? If it does, it's not complete. All right. So very good. All right. Looks like we have a few more here. Let's see, did I skip somebody here? All right, Ricardo says, I'm here, teacher. Welcome, and E is here as well. See, a native English speaker told me to start building connections between words in sentences starting from a word fuck. I'm guessing that's what your word, or maybe fork. The word fork, I guess. Like that's a kind of funny way of doing it. You will find one of the first YouTube videos was like the different uses of the word fuck. It's like, well, you could use it as a transitive verb, or you could use it as a noun, or whatever, and it's giving you all these examples. But yes, you can use fuck in a wide variety of ways. Gamer says, I must do hard work on my vocabulary power because since childhood I've been reading wrong things. This is not really about hard work. Hard work is usually something that your brain doesn't want to do, but your brain actually does want to get lots of different examples to help you understand things, because your brain likes that feeling of understanding something. That's why we do puzzles, you know. You guys have maybe seen those like Sudoku puzzles. It's like a grid of numbers like this. You have like 6 and 4 and 3 or whatever, and some blank spaces. And you need to put those in there. When people do puzzles like that, the whole point is it makes their brain feel good. So language learning should be the same way, because it's basically puzzle solving. So you're trying to recognize a pattern and apply the pattern. Okay, that's how it works. I'm just trying to break this into pieces so it's easier to understand where you might be having doubt. All right, so are you learning something that's not helping you speak? So you notice you're learning something, but natives are saying something different? Or are you just actually having trouble remembering what you learned because you don't really understand it completely? Or is your problem that maybe you know things really well, but you can't connect them very well, or you're still having trouble responding quickly? So maybe you don't understand people. You have to process what they're saying, like thinking and translating, and then you have to organize sentences in your head. If you do, then that's the problem with practice over here. And the way you solve that is by getting this naturally varied review. So you focus on something, get lots of examples of it to make you really understand, and then you're going to be able to use that thing much better. All right, let's see, where did I get stuck here? All right, Gamer says, I got that one already. And transitional words, yes. But you will learn transitional words or any other kind of vocabulary as you get examples. You will naturally come to learn those. Gamer says, thank you so much. And see it again, no problem, Drew. It's nice to have your correction. Thanks a lot. Glad to hear it. Owen says, how can join each other here? Well, if you guys are speaking with each other, I'll let you speak with each other. Mike says it would be good to improve all the kinds of doubt within our AI. You probably mean AI. What do you think about the news? What do you think about the news? You mean new language technologies? I think AI has potential, but like if I were to design an AI, it would basically be following this. So even if I use ChatGPT, if I just say, hey, ChatGPT, I want to learn Spanish, start teaching me Spanish. And like, it's probably going to just give me translations of things and do the like typical kinds of things that people use. Because AI is not really thinking of like how to teach people the way I teach. AI is just taking information about how people already teach. So it's more efficient to get examples, but if you're still learning the same traditional way, then you're not helping yourself much. So it's like people going from like when YouTube came out, and now we have learning with video. Amazing, but a lot of people are not using video very well. They're just like they're doing a regular class explaining grammar rules in a video. just like you would do it in a classroom. And so like people will still learn that and they're like, wow, it's learning with video, but obviously the time changes and now people are expecting more to actually, help me use video. Let's actually use the benefit of video, like showing you how grammar works rather than just telling you something like that. Okay. So hopefully this makes sense, but that's the basic idea that even if you're learning with AI, like like the way I work with AI now, I'm more teaching AI how to teach. So I can, because AI like now ChatGPT has a memory function, so I can talk with it and like explain more about how people should be learning for the purposes of like explaining stuff like this. But I often do that and I'm like, okay, AI, like this is how I want you to teach me. And so I have to explain how to do that. So yes, there's potential with AI, and I'd like to, probably in the future, I will have like a system like this that's for people who are in Fluent for Life. Let's see, a link says, hi, today's topic is cool. Moy says, your method is just perfect for anyone who wants to learn all the ins and outs of the language. We are grateful. Glad to hear it. Yes, I'm just trying to help you eliminate doubt. That's the whole idea. And Moyes also says, when do you come on live? These aren't specifically scheduled. Often I do them Mondays and Thursdays Japan time, but I don't always do them. Just like I didn't do one yesterday, but I had time to do one today. So here we are. Miriam says, I'm here. And let's see, James Butler. So how can I learn daily conversation English? You just watch people having conversations. That's it. It's the same way you watch, like, how do I learn how to hammer a nail? I mean, I like see somebody else doing it. I could watch 10 different people do it. Maybe they, like one guy holds the nail like this and another guy holds the nail like this, or maybe another guy uses a little thing to hold the nail and then tries to hit the hammer like that. As I see many different examples of things, often when people are learning anything, they're getting maybe one example from one teacher. But the benefit we have now of technology like YouTube is that we can get so many different examples that really speed up the learning process. And by speed up the learning process, it means more examples are going to help me eliminate doubt faster. And that's what gets me speaking. Right. And it says, thanks a lot. And teacher, when I try to study, I always get distracted. It feels heavier looking in books, but when I'm on my phone, I can be on it for hours. How can I stop this habit? Well, I mean, you use that same habit by, like, instead of trying to fight against that, typically the book or whatever format it is, either you're trying to learn through repetition, which gets boring, and that's understandable. Or again, because your brain likes getting aha moments, it dislikes being bored. So that's like the number one thing in, advertising or whatever. It's like, don't be boring, because people like, well, it's distracting, or I get tired of it or whatever. Like, it just means they're not learning something or understanding something better. It doesn't feel good. And so the opposite of that is being bored by some information. So you can certainly use your phone, and I would use that, like, you get 100 different examples of the same kind of thing. So you can search on YouTube for a particular grammar point or vocabulary or situation, like how to grow roses. Watch 10 different videos of that, and it would probably not be boring because you would be, learning something you're actually interested in. All right. So think about what you're interested in and work back from that. Find out a topic. This is why we do this in Fluent for Life. So there are 100 different topics, and so not everybody learns in the same way. So some people want to learn about information technology. Some people want to learn about cooking. Some people want to learn about, business or whatever. And so each person is going through and getting fluent the same way, but they're learning about different information. All right, let's see. Moise again says, read the book called Atomic Habits. Yep. Thank you so much. And let's see, Linked says, yep. How to reflect on real life. Yes, and so like when I'm talking about reflecting on something, like, yes, like that's kind of thinking about it, reflecting on your life or thinking about it. But this is, how does the learning process reflect what you're doing? So there are times where repetitive practice is a good idea, like practicing the piano so you can play the piano at a concert. All you do is just practice the thing, like practicing an instrument, because the real life concert is going to be like the practice. All right. But if you're in something like a sport, which is a little bit different, like maybe I'm good at dribbling the basketball, but I have to be good at also recognizing other players on the team or what the other team is going to do. So it's a lot more to think about. And you get better at that by playing actual games. All right. So language learning and playing an instrument, other things like that, you should be specific about how you're learning. And the kind of the situation for the actual communication, whatever you're going to use that thing, it should reflect how you learn. All right. So if you don't learn what people are using, then of course you will not understand people. All right. Even if I learn textbook English and I learn it well and I get lots of review of that, it doesn't matter because people are going to say things that are different in communication. So you have all of these things that you need to get working together. But if you eliminate the doubt, it's actually quite easy and you become a much more confident speaker very quickly. All right, let's see here. And Goher says, good morning. Has the schedule changed? No, it's just a Tuesday day. Comprehensible input and immersion apply 80-20 rule. Yes, so those are all helpful ideas. Kazim says, if the school don't teach like that, we should stay at home and improve our language. Exactly. Yes, so if lessons do not teach that way, you would say if schools don't teach that way, or if the school does not teach that way, then yes. And so if schools are giving you partial understanding, meaning they still have some doubt or you still have some doubt about things, then yes, it's basically teachers' typical lessons are making you do the work of destroying the doubt, when it should be the teacher's job to do that. It's my job to make the language understandable. If I don't make the language understandable, then I'm just saying, okay, here's some vocabulary to memorize. Now you go home and take 5 hours and study it, and maybe you get fluent in that, maybe you don't. But that's the typical way people learn. And it's not just in the classroom. It's like lots of lessons, even plenty of lessons or teachers online. All right, same idea. So if you're still having doubt about something, then you need to find a different way to learn or do it yourself. Let's see, as it says, the beauty in learning a language, particularly English in my case, isn't really only about the language, but also about life lessons that can be applied in various aspects of life, learning a lot here. Yes, and so I often talk about different things that way, but that's another form of naturally varied review. As you understand something well, when you get that aha moment because you see how there are connections, then you think, oh, I bet there are other connections I could make as well. So like you're saying, it's not just about what you learn for the language learning, it's also how you can apply those same lessons in other aspects of your life. Enrico says, any BTS army here. George says, AI couldn't recognize my pronunciation. Yeah, I think we're still a little bit off from that. That's what people would like to do, if you could listen to AI, or AI could understand your pronunciation. But like the fluency is often not eliminated by AI because of how AI is teaching people. And that's the same way most people teach. So AI is just doing that thing, but people have this idea like, ooh, it's AI. You know, like everybody now, like tech companies are like, everybody has to put AI onto their stuff, because if you don't say you have AI, then you look like you're like a loser or something, I guess, I don't know, for tech companies. But I saw it was a pretty funny video, just like a meme video of, like the caption was like tech companies using AI, or like tech companies trying to apply AI, and it showed like some hot sauce, like somebody squirting some sauce on some food, and then they squirted sauce on it, and then they like wrapped it up and squirted sauce on the wrap, and then put it in a bag and squirted sauce on the bag also. So it's like they're overdoing it, and everyone's like AI, but you'll notice like everybody is still struggling with the same problems. And that's because AI hasn't solved, like AI doesn't do this. All right, it could, potentially it could do that. I'm thinking about how that would be possible, but this is not what people are building. All right, they're kind of making like, it's a different way of learning, which is why you have to specifically tell AI what to do and how to use it. Let's see, Save says with the smiling, crying face. America says, hi, will you vote in November? I don't think so. Let's see, Richard says, what is the key metric of fluency? The key metric is doubt. Do you feel doubt about something or not? So if you have doubt, you will not use something fluently. So it's really like a yes or no kind of thing. So often you could understand something pretty well, but if you still have doubt, you won't use it. So if you speak without a doubt, that's when you're speaking fluently. So how quickly can you eliminate doubt? That's how quickly you get fluent. That's probably the simplest way I could explain that. Thank you so much. Here in Brazil, and see again, a wise man said to focus. Let's see, on, that would be a wise man said to focus on what you are doing in present. Can you make a study lesson plan of English in a day where we put all of our focus? Well, I did that already. It's called Fluent for Life. So all of that work is already done. So I tell you exactly what to do every day and how to review it so it gets you fluent automatically. All right, so if you just follow that, you could try to apply that yourself. Like, you don't need me to do that for you, but it's just a lot faster and easier if you have someone that can prepare all of that for you, and that's what we did. Let's see, A7MDX, is it really about level English? I'm A2, but went growing, and how to write my develop. Well, there's a lot of incorrect English in your comment there, but I would focus on understanding the basics, which a lot of people, they kind of think they understand the basics and then they skip over them. But I recommend you spend more time with that. It looks like you have a lot of doubt still about many things. Link says, thanks you. James said, I want to learn English to talk with friends and family. How can I learn? Watch this video again. It's everything I just explained. So the things I talk about on the YouTube channel are explaining how to learn, and then either you can apply these ideas yourself, like you can learn right on YouTube there's lots of content available. The problem is it's just harder to learn when you're doing it by yourself, because you need to understand the vocabulary. You need to either figure that out for yourself or have someone else tell you what it means, or I don't know, well, you don't want to get translations anyway, but then the other problem is finding all of the good information that can help you learn that eliminates the doubt. All right, so you could do that by yourself, and that's what I'm doing. So you could watch just this video, apply those lessons yourself, or you can have us do that for you. Let's see, only draw army here only. I don't know what that means. Let's see, Mike says, thanks a lot, Drew. Your classes are fair, interesting, and handles. I don't know what that means. But it sounds good. Often after watching one of them, I feel more confident about the progress I made through this good advice. Again, you would say through this good advice. So this good advice. Yes. Again, hopefully, if I'm doing my job, then you should feel more confident when I'm done because you understand something better. Even if it's only one or two words or a few phrases, you should be feeling a lot more confident about that. But if you go watch the vocabulary videos I have, they're like maybe 20 1-minute or 2-minute videos all at once. So all of those in the same video that help you understand something much faster. Let's see, would you please repeat this method I just joined? No. I've already explained it a couple times. Maybe I'll recap it at the end. But the point is, you need to understand what natives are really saying. So all of the things that you do to learn should be mirroring how the real communication process is. So if people are using vocabulary that you do not learn, or you do not learn the vocabulary that people really use, those are two different ways of saying the same thing, then you will struggle in communication. If you're kind of understanding things logically, like you understand grammar rules logically, but you're not actually using them fluently, it means you still have some kind of doubt about that. The lessons are incomplete because you still have some kind of doubt. You don't feel confident using it. And then for the practice, it's not about repeating stuff again and again. It's about teaching yourself to make connections. All right. If you teach yourself to make connections by getting lots of examples, then that will prepare you to understand people and to respond quickly in communication. All right. So everything you do to learn should be everything that mirrors what's happening in the real communication situation in real life. Let's see. And Pelvis says, hello, teacher, for taking your time to teach us. I'm so happy to listen to you and practice to speak in English. I try to say thank you. Well, welcome. James, don't learn English if you want to speak with your family. And Carlos says, to speak English in Brazil is very difficult because people not speak English very every day in the street or in other situations. Yes, but like, again, as I just explained, you don't need to have people around you who speak to get fluent at English or really at any other language like that. So if you want to become a fluent speaker, you just need lots of examples, just like I'm giving you right now. So if you understood what I'm saying and you feel more confident, like about something like double up or any other things about how you should be learning, you didn't say anything to me while you're learning with this video. All right, so I'm speaking to you and you're understanding language better because I'm making the language easy to understand. All right, so if you feel more confident about that, you should be thinking, oh, isn't this great? The aha moment is I don't need to spend time speaking with other people to get fluent. I need to have more of these moments of understanding. And I get that from YouTube or, Fluent for Life or wherever you get it from. But that's what you need to do to get fluent. Destroy the doubt, and then you will feel confident speaking. All right, C, would you please repeat this lesson? I like your advice. Well, just watch it again. Watch the video again. That way I don't have to say the same exact thing. How many hours the person should spend a day learning? Well, as many as you can, but whatever you can do. But usually, if you enjoy doing something, you will not think about the time. Like people watching, flipping through their phone for an hour, you're just kind of mindlessly doing it. But if you could do that by getting lots of examples of some vocabulary and it was entertaining for you, it was interesting, and it helped you understand better, you would spend more time doing it. So like I don't have to tell people like be sure to eat every day, like spend at least like an hour or 2 hours every day eating something because people want to do that naturally. But generally people, they don't want to learn, and the reason they don't want to learn is because of all the typical things about learning that make learning difficult. All right, it's boring. The information you're learning, you're just repeating things, and it's not really what people learn, and it doesn't reflect the real communication environment. All right. So if you want to learn that way, change the way you learn, and you will naturally want to spend more time learning. All right. Let's see. And E. McGraw again says, thank you for reading my question. You're awesome. It's my pleasure. And Ilda, nice to see you there. What's going on, Drew? Long time no see. Nice to learn some English with you this morning. Many thanks. It's my pleasure. Rinku says, English is easy. There you go. And greetings from Ukraine, says Sergio. All right, that's come to the end of the comments over here. Thank you very much. I'm glad you all stayed with me over here. If you were just joining us late, go back and watch the video. I will make it available for everybody so you can watch it anytime you like. But remember this idea. In general, the way you learn and practice should mirror how real life works. All right, and if it does, then you will become a confident speaker. You will not be hesitating and getting stuck in conversations. You will be speaking much more confidently. All right, let's see. Do you think if I watch a movie with subtitles? Yes, so watching a movie with subtitles is fine. It'll help you understand things. But thank you again. That'll be it for this video. But if you have liked it, do click that like button. Share the video with anyone else who would like to maybe actually communicate well. So if they've been trying to learn for a long time and they still don't speak, knowledge. Leonardo comes back with it at the end. Very good. I like that. Knowledge. I know. Somebody else said that to me recently. I was like, "Was Ty Lopez back? I don't know. Maybe he's doing something over here." Moyes says, "Yes, Ring. If you are around the people who are not good at it, yeah." So remember, you don't need to physically be around people you're learning from, just like you're learning with me. You are not sitting in the same room as me right now, but you are still learning. All right. So you don't need physical people to speak with. Just like me, it doesn't matter if I have I'm not speaking Japanese all day with people, even if I'm in Japan. All right. So remember that knowledge. Leonardo knows what's going on. Ask Leonardo. He will give you plenty of knowledge over there. And I'll see you in the next video. All right. So be sure to practice, but practice the right way. Be sure to learn the right way and understand what you're learning so that you become fluent. Everything should be mirroring what's happening. That's the best knowledge. The knowledge I can give everyone. Yes, knowledge is power. All right, if you'd like to learn more, you can certainly apply these rules by yourself, but if you'd like to have me just do it for you, then click on the links in the description. You can get Frederick, and Fluent for Life is down there as well. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.